Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show. Today's guest is a special one, unanimous All-American here at Penn State, first-round draft pick, was just inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame, but most importantly is a fantastic father. Ladies and gentlemen, Tamba Hali.
Thank
Tamba,
you. I appreciate
thanks for
that.
coming on, man. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
So you were up at the football facility here at Penn State working some pass rush moves with some of the guys.
Yeah, every 2, 3 years I'll pop in and try to pass on the knowledge that I've got in the league and try to get the guys to understand what it took for me to make it not just at Penn State but transitioning into the NFL.
Absolutely, and a big piece of those pass rush moves. I know you're big on jujitsu. I'm curious how that. And I know you've mentored a lot of guys. I saw that you were working with George Karlaftis, guys like that. How big of a role would you say jujitsu plays in pass rush for your career, and then also when you're teaching these younger guys? Like how much is that incorporated? Would you say?
Uh, I'll say a lot of it. Because jiu-jitsu for us is survival. Pass rushing. Most of the times we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose a lot of our fights. But if you're able to survive throughout the time, you'll be able to wear down the guy. And as far as jiu-jitsu goes, it's more technical than physical.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter how big the guy is. So long you learned a few techniques here and there, you're able to manage if you're on the bottom to get on top. And,
Mm.
and that's the biggest thing. We bring in the guys, they're huge, and we'll bring in a police officer that's like maybe 160, put them on top, and they can't get out, and they can't get out. And that right there, they transition and realize that it doesn't matter how big you are, if you just
Mm.
need to know some techniques.
So you think it's a humbling experience when you go against someone that is very versed in jujitsu, even as a bigger guy.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to hurt that guy.
Mm.
I'm trying to find a way to be able to get something done. In jiu-jitsu, we call it passing the guard or mounting or side mount, just to get that done against someone small but skilled. And if you're not able to do it, it's humbling. It's like you realize, even if I try to strike, this person may know a little bit more than me and finish me in seconds.
Tom, I'm curious. So you have come back to Penn State a lot. I remember even when I was playing here, I saw you come out. What is it about Penn State that you continuously come back? You bring the family back around. You want them to experience it. Like, what has Penn State really meant to you in your life?
It's probably the most important decision I think I've made apart from my family, my wife. Coming to Penn State, it was like a family oriented place. It is. It's
Mm.
not like it is. Since Joe was here, Joe came all the way to my high school. I was highly recruited, and Joe wasn't selling the school. This was my worst visit. To be honest with you, I had fun in Miami. I went to Southern California, but I came here. They didn't sell the school to me. The school was already sold. The people that I met, from Todd Coca to Spider to all these older guys that was here. Some of them have retired.
Mm.
Tom Venturino.
Oh.
Um, it was a family kind of atmosphere. They helped with everything.
Mm.
Whatever you needed, they helped you get it done. I wasn't the best student, but they got me the help that I needed.
Mm.
I was always paired with some honor student who took their time with me to, at least assist me understanding what I was trying to get done. The school sold itself. It was the stadium. The first time we drove on campus, I'm like, my gosh, I never seen anything like this. And the Lash building, everything is right there. Our locker room is right there. You,
Mm.
you walk out, you have the practice fields right there. We live right up the block, and I lived in Shunk.
Mm.
That was my freshman year. I lived in Shunk, and then I moved to Nittany what is it
Yeah,
called?
Nittany Apartments. Yeah.
Nittany Apartments. Um,
Look, Tom. The guys now they don't even get the dorm. They don't. They go straight to Nittany. You get your own, bed, your own room.
they're
It,
spoiled.
I know they're spoiled now. It's crazy. I didn't. I even had to go to the dorm room when I first got here, but they got it. They got it down pat, and they're even. Yeah, they're making it nicer and nicer. But
You have lifelong friends. You make them here. I had a house here. I used to come
mm,
back, stay here, and work out with the guys. Um, but just the whole feel of Penn State. It's a small community, but it's huge, and there's nowhere in the country where I visited, it's like this. There's just nowhere, and again, it shows each year. The guys are committing to come here.
It does. It's one of the most special places in the entire world, and you only know that if you've been here. That's for sure. And Tom, I know you mentioned it, but are you early in your career in the off seasons? You'd come back to Penn State and train, right?
Yeah.
Never got enough of the strength coach JT. I guess you wanted more, dude. The stories I've heard about JT, that's one crazy son of a gun.
Yeah.
What kind of workouts would you when you came back? What kind of like work would you guys be doing?
Same. I mean, we're doing 16 110s to begin with, 32 110s. At one point, if you're babying yourself, a story. I came in a weight room. I was trying to baby myself freshman year. I'm like, oh, this is too hard. He stopped. He said, "Go home." And then I want to get back. Oh no, I would try. He said, "No, go home. Come back. We'll try it again tomorrow." So I came back and I started figuring it out. I got in trouble one time. He put me on the Versa climber with.
I've heard about the Versa climber.
Safety, Sean Mayer, and Sean Crush It. I get like in 20 minutes. I get like maybe close to 1,000. We're supposed to get like 1,500 and up. And he's like, "Got to do it again, or else we'll do this again for." So those guys kind of change my mindset. You come in, you think you're good. The first day, everyone throws up. Everyone throws up, and it's like the first test is we got to go around the track 8 times, and it's like you got to make it under maybe 35 minutes. But again, they break you. Yeah. That's what I liked, and from then on, you just become a man.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I feel like when you first get to college, because everybody comes from those unstructured high school football. I mean, that's pretty much everybody. And it's that initial. It's all about mental. It's like how far can I take this until you break, or will you break it all? And yeah, that's we still got that to this day. Shout out Chuck Losey, doing a great job carrying on the program there. Tamba, so coming from Liberia, what was that adjustment like when you get to you're 10 years old? You said don't really speak the language. You get plopped into elementary school. We were talking about adjustments in college football. I'd imagine that was probably a harder adjustment in your life. Like, what were those initial weeks, months like when you first got here?
Yeah, when I got to the country in 1994 in Teaneck, New Jersey, I couldn't read, couldn't write, placed in the 5th grade. And it's the most humbling experience, I'll say, because everyone is smart and they can read, and I have to get up in the class and show that I can't not read, and someone has to read with me, word, everything, and it helped. It helped me realize that America is a great country. It really prepares everyone for a future. And I came out of a war-torn country and having to adjust. I'll say my dad, he did the most for us. He got us hooked on phonics. I should be getting paid for hooked on phonics. I'm over here, selling it on every podcast.
Brand ambassador, man.
But yeah, hooked on phonics. We were on it for at least 2-3 years, and it helped catching up. Even when I got to high school, I didn't know what a scholarship is. A lot of kids read books. Reading wasn't a thing for me. I was still learning how to read, but it was tough. Being in the U.S., having to adapt that way, it was tough.
So when you got over, did you start playing sports right away, or what was kind of that? When did you specifically find football? I know you played a little bit of basketball back in the day, but when did you find that love for football?
Football was in the 9th grade. My coach, my gym teacher was the defensive coordinator for the high school football team, and he told me when you get to high school, play football. I wasn't bad in basketball, but football was a gift. The instructions was simple. Just put your hand in the ground and go, and get the guy with the ball. So that couldn't be hard.
Right.
I'm already been running away from bullets. So this is easy. Just go ahead and get the guy with the ball. I enjoyed it. I mean, that's what I did. And I was highly recruited, and it panned out. I came to Penn State.
Yeah, it definitely panned out, that's for sure, Tom. But so when you started that recruitment, Was that like surreal for you when you just got all these people? I mean, you get offer from basically everywhere. Everybody wanting you to come to their school. I know you talked a little bit about Joe and said that it was the worst visit, like, as far as facilities and, how they propped it up. But what was, like, I know you said why you picked Penn State, but like, what was that first interaction with Joe Paterno, and kind of like what does he mean to you? I always ask the lettermen. I've had a ton of lettermen on. I always make it a point to ask them, their first interaction with Joe and just kind of what he meant to them throughout their career.
Joe was hands-on. Joe was like another father, but it was distant because we had Larry Johnson Sr. He was like another father. But Joe was hands-on. Joe brought us to his house, sat us down. We, talked. Basically, he gets to know you a little bit. I remember during camp, I was in a car with a girl. Wasn't breaking curfew, but Joe was going to suspend me just for being in a car with a girl during the time we were in camp. And the captains went up there and said, hey, Tamba wasn't breaking no law. But, Joe meant everything. We wanted to win for him. At one point, he fired all the seniors. I was a sophomore, and I was starting already. And he was rebuilding the team, and he wanted guys that love football. He didn't want just guys to be around enjoying the act of being here and, everything that went along with it outside of football. And those that love football, he kept around. If you didn't love football, he fired you. So he was straight. I mean, you had to, everything, when he says being on time, we had a meeting, again, here's another story. We had a game against Ohio State, and being on time for a meeting, let's say the time was 7 o'clock. I'm walking in at 6:50, the meeting's over. When he said be on time, it's like half an hour before because his meetings are short. And but yeah, Joe meant everything to me as far as he accommodated my dad. My dad came up here and sat with him, and they spoke. My high school coach, I don't know how much they knew each other, but he could vouch, if the kid was good enough or not. And Joe was just hands-on with the guys. He knew everybody, and he would talk to us. At one point, I wanted to share the position with a guy, and Joe's like, "No, keep Tamba in there."
I was waiting for the Joe accent. I always ask every letterman. I'm like, let me hear the Joe. Yeah.
So he really helped, and his family as well. After my career, Scott Paterno, his son, was very involved at the time with helping my mom come to the country. So it was, very close when it comes to Joe business, and I'll always be defending coach.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could have met him. It sounds like I love meeting all you guys. I feel like I meet him through you guys, and it's really cool to see. Another great coach you mentioned, LJ. I'm curious actually. You came here as a defensive tackle, right? Is that how you started out?
Well, I came in as a defensive end. We had defensive tackles, but the defensive tackles wanted to play in.
Everybody wants to play DN.
So I didn't care where I played. I just had a mindset that I was not going to redshirt. I redshirted the first year. Michael Haynes, he did well. He had 2 sacks against South Florida that game, and I'm like, maybe I will be redshirting. But the backup to the nose wasn't playing well. So coach kind of gave me, Ed Johnson, and Jason Alford an opportunity to win the number 2 spot. And I won the spot and played defensive tackle for the first 2 years. And then finally, we had some guys that didn't have it together. So they started giving me another opportunity to play defensive end. And I took advantage of that. And the senior year, I made it work for myself, and we had a good team that year.
That's putting it a little lightly, Tamba. I did want to ask you about that year. Not to date you, but I don't know if you know, 20th anniversary this year.
That's a long time.
It was. Tamba, I feel like people don't give that 05 team enough credit. Everybody talks about 94, 82, 86. Not enough people talk about that 05 team. And I feel like where it all really kind of took shape was the Ohio State game in 2005 at home. And, everybody knows the sack. And people still post it to this day. It's still on the Jumbotron. I'm going to be putting it on the screen right now. I got to ask. You start out in like a tight 7 on the tight end.
Yeah.
Right about a second before the snap, you bump out to like a wide 9, and then we all know what happens after that. I'm curious, did you know that they were going to leave you one-on-one with the tight end, which might I say is disrespectful to do to Tamba and also just not a smart move. But can you take me back to that play a little bit?
Coach gave us the freedom to line up outside of the tight end more because if it's a run, he really wants us to crash down in there. Sometimes we're late. Those guys were stretching, and when they cut back, you're not getting it.
Yep.
But because they completed 2 deep passes quickly, and they're like at maybe half midfield, maybe, and for whatever it was worth, I felt like, man, I got to get outside of this guy and get the best rush I can get. I didn't expect, for Troy to hold the ball that long. I was looking at him coming, taking giant steps, and the rest is history. Thank God Paxton recovered the ball. But yeah, Coach gave us the freedom to line up outside as much as we can.
Have you ever gotten to talk to Troy Smith about it?
No.
Never talked to him?
No, I never met Troy.
Do you think that was the loudest you've ever heard Beaver Stadium? I've heard a lot of people say that was the loudest they've ever heard it.
That was loud. And I can't say I remember it like I should, but I knew it was loud because I just knew the game was over. I looked at the sideline. Everything is like, whoosh, and I just see Coach Johnson just, as happy as he can be, grab me, and then it's like, wow.
That's what's up. I feel like because it was still unofficial at the time, but they were doing like a student whiteout for that game, and it was like that was a big deal. And then obviously the rest of the season, what goes on. Michigan still cheated. I'm sorry, I had to put that out there.
Lloyd Carl.
I mean, come on. What? I didn't know that much about that game until about a year ago, and I researched it, and I found that they put 2 seconds back on the clock.
He's done that a few years prior to that, so that was not the first time. He's done it a couple years when we had Tony Johnson and other players, Larry Johnson, making great plays up there in Michigan, but. Lloyd Carr, you got to give it up to Michigan.
Yeah, I guess so. Clearly you do. But, the year still ends great. You guys have that crazy thriller against Florida State in the Orange Bowl, 3 overtimes. And you just – how did it feel to end on a high note, not only with the team, but obviously All-American, Big Ten defensive lineman, all that type of stuff. Did it feel like, okay, like I did what I needed to do in college football?
To be honest, I knew nothing of all of that stuff. I was still enjoying the game, and I didn't know what awards was there. You say 94 to 2005, so was that like 10 years?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm still trying to get acquainted to what's happening in the country. So I can't tell you, even when we had the Nagurski, I was up for that. I didn't even know who Nagurski was. Sorry to say, I'm just pleased that I was recognized as one of the better players in the country, and being part of the Penn State history.
Absolutely, 100%. And then so you go on, obviously get drafted in the first round to the Chiefs, and then the biggest thing is like, what was that time like where you are navigating trying to be an NFL player, get adjusted to that, and then you mentioned Scott Paterno, a bunch of people around here helping you get to see your mother for the first time in about 12 years, right?
Yeah.
What was kind of those emotions, all of that, going on in that first year? What was going through your mind with all that?
Well, I was fortunate. The year prior, I met my agent, Jim Ivler and Brian Mackler. They were both Jersey people, and they came up to me. They said, we think you're going to be a high draft pick, but you have to have a good year. We'll call you throughout the year. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. They respected it. I said, please, let me play my year at the end. We'll get through with it. They agreed. So, maybe every 3-4 games, they'll give me a grade and say, this is where you are based on your performance. Afterwards, I signed with them, and they were able to assist with me going back and forth. I was taking classes and going to New Jersey to train at a facility called Parisi.
You were still taking classes in the spring after the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
You wanted to graduate.
I wanted to graduate.
That's so commendable.
So,
oh my gosh.
I'm going back and forth, and in the same time, they're prepping me for the combine because again, I'm not going to be your 4-4 guy. I'm not going to be the guy that benches the most, but based on film, they believed I was going to be, okay going into the draft. So they helped me as far as making sure how to go about these different tests that I had to do at the combine. They were there during the Senior Bowl. Um, I did get MVP for that.
Okay, remember that one? There we go.
Defensive MVP for that.
That must have helped the stock a little bit even more.
It did. But yeah, Scott Paterno was at one point involved, highly involved. Jim Ivler was involved. He's a lawyer as well. And then when I got drafted, there was what's his name? A senator named Jack Kemp. God rest in peace to Jack Kemp. He was He was up at Buffalo.
Okay.
He was a senator up there, former football player. He started to vouch for me. He wrote a letter for my mom to come. The Chiefs, not Clark Hunt, because he's the chairman now, but Lamar Hunt and Carl Peterson. They both had a play to get my mom up here. And when she got here, Jim was there to pick her up at the airport and fly her all the way to Kansas City. And they did a whole HBO special on it. So it was strenuous because I also had to become a citizen that year. So during camp, Herm Edwards, who drafted me, allowed me to go back to New Jersey and sworn in to become a U.S. citizen, before all of this could happen. So it was one of those years, I guess you can write a book about it.
You definitely could.
Yeah.
Tom, do you ever sit back and just think where I'm at right now? Do you just think oh my gosh, I mean, obviously I know you're a man of faith as well, which is amazing. Do you ever just kind of sit back and just say, wow?
I've been, there's so many times I could have died between the time I'm talking to you since I retired, and sometimes I sit back and I just say, I don't know what's special about me, but I thank the Lord all the time, and for keeping me alive to see my children. I never really wanted to think highly of myself. You mean a lot to a lot of people. As much as you don't want to think about it, you represent a lot of people. A lot of people vouch for you. They saw you in a good way, and you have to start to look at yourself that way. You're not just anyone. And so I give everything back again to Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And where I am today, I do sit back and realize, I say, this is not, you can't take it lightly, from war to football and making it through football, with no kind of injury like that. Being able to have a family, raise your family, and be the breadwinner that helps the mom and helps the dad and helps the family and help anyone that you possibly can touch. And it's all because of, what God is doing through me. And it's the road is tough, and I won't wish it upon anyone, but it is hard. It is hard.
Amen. And no, it's your story, man. It is one of a kind, and it's amazing. Tom, I'm curious, when you decided to hang it up, was there a definite thing that happened? Did you have an injury? Did you have any conversation? I guess Andy Reid was your coach at the time. Was there conversations there? What made you finally say, all right, it's time to hang it up for good?
Well, I listened to counseling. I had a great coach by the name of Gary Gibbs. Gary Gibbs just beat melanoma cancer. But he was my linebacker coach for about 8-9 years in the league. After the last year, I didn't play as much, 2017, 2018. And I could still play, but I went around the coaching staff and I asked them, I said, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think I should continue my career? And they all said, Tamba, you've done well. You can only make it worse. So you can only go somewhere and get hurt. You can only go somewhere and try to prove that you're still good and you'll be bouncing around. So you've done what you could. And I listened to it, and my body was tired too. 12 years.
Yeah.
Thank God for Andy Reid. They clock all of our practices, all of our plays, all of our reps, so they kind of know where you are. They don't want to push it a little bit more. I'm glad I can walk today, but if I pushed it a little bit more, I may be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's reality for a lot of guys. I feel like a lot of people don't see that in these NFL players because they just, their career is over and then you don't hear from them. But like that's the reality. The guys get older, and it starts to get bad. Back, knees, all that stuff, neck. So yeah, it is. It's definitely a blessing that you're at where you're at for sure. Tom, I want to take some time real quick to talk about some personal stuff. Your music career,
Hmm.
Tamba Tunes. How did that come about, man? How did you get into music originally?
Well, I've always done music. I grew up in a church. Music has been part of my life. I remember I was singing. I was sitting in a tree singing, and we're watching a plane fly towards us. And it's the plane is actually off, but I was singing. So I remember doing that, and I came to America. I joined a church, Bethel Church in Hackensack, and I sang. I played the drums in that church. Here, when Fruity Loops started, I don't know if anyone knows about Fruity Loops. It's a digital audio workstation. Um, we were the first wave to start messing around with making beats and digitally and making music. I always enjoy rapping. Why? I grew up in New Jersey, huge hip
Mm,
hop scene over there. So imagine trying to fit in.
mm,
So that was the motivation to do music, and I'm more of an introvert, so it kept me kind of away from the streets, and I was always trying to kind of mess around with computer stuff
mm,
and writing lyrics. When I got in the league, I built my studio, and I used to work by myself most of the time and some local people, and I enjoyed listening to Lil Wayne.
mm,
And there was a fellow named Gilly the Kid, and there was a whole talk about this guy helped him, learn how to write music, and
mm.
that's why he's having success. I had a financial advisor at the time. It's not the same guy, but rest in peace to Marty Blazer. Um, he knew Gilly, so he got me fixed with Gilly, and I went up to Gilly. I'm like, Gilly, write me some songs. Gilly wrote the songs. We never published it. I just wanted to
Mm.
see. I'm a learner, so I just wanted to see how this thing is going. So, I liked it, and then I flipped it. I said, Gil, why don't I invest in you? And while I'm playing ball, you do music, and we did that for maybe 7, 8 years,
Mm.
and you know, look what happened with his career. It's
Gilly took off, and he's big on the podcast too. Gilly, yeah,
Yeah.
he's big time.
So that went about, and after I retired, I'm like, well, why don't you try doing music? I said to myself, because I can sing, I can rap. So I was fortunate. I got a guy from Nigeria, because Afrobeats just coming up on the scene,
Mm,
and this guy from Nigeria, I wanted to do a feature with another artist named Flavor, and he's a big African artist. But he's like, let me send you my producer. His name is Mastercraft. I was fortunate to meet with Mastercraft, work with him for maybe 4 or 5 years, and I actually moved more towards wanting to be more of a producer. I
mm.
mean, because he pretty much did the beat, wrote the music, and all I had to do is just sing it.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. He had all his gift, but
Mm,
over time I realized it was not just him. He had a team. So there
mm.
was he'd do the melodies, he would do the beat, he would send the melodies to these other guys. They would write the words, they would send it back. I'll deliver. So the music came out well. He was able to make sure it fit my personality. Then afterwards, our relationship kind of went its separate ways, and then I enrolled in LA Film School. I'm a student there right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
about maybe a year and a half away from graduating from music production.
Wow.
So I always loved music, and as I grew in it and realized what they're doing in the industry is not something I want to do something for myself. I enjoy it, not so I can go out and be on stage
Right.
performing it that way. But I am good.
You are good. I was listening to some of it. Listen, you guys can't get away. Joe's guys, man. Everybody wants to go to school. I guess it stuck with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Tava, all right, that's awesome. And yeah, where can they find all your music? Anybody who's listening,
I don't
YouTube.
I don't have another name, so my name is what you'll put in Tamba Hali on Spotify, on YouTube. I stopped performing, so I don't do any more performances. But the music is still online. You can go on there and listen to it. It's very friendly. It's very air happy. You can listen to it with your kids.
It's great for the summertime too. That's Play by the Pool. Perfect anthem. All right, Tom. The last thing I want to talk about here, you do a lot of work back in Liberia, right? With, I've seen you talk about doing educational stuff, helping with, water supply, all that. How often are you guys back over there, and what kind of have you all done back over there?
Um, for the past maybe say 7 to 8 years, I've been going back at least 2 to 3 times a year. I even created a festival called Party Next Door. Just trying to move the theme over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the place is still third world. The people are still living in mud houses. Education is really not a key there right now. And because I'm from there, when I go back, I see all of this happening. I try to help in the way I can. I think sometimes the best way to help is finding the artists so they can preach that gospel, but it doesn't always work out that way. And but yeah, we created a water company. It's not free. A lot of money went into it. It's not free, so we created it, and we sell the water to the community, and we encourage them to come and help us make water. But again, the country is really a handout kind of country. So everyone's looking for a handout. They don't want to work. But there's hope.
That's what's up, man. That's really neat. That's awesome. Well, Tamba, that wraps it up today, man. But I appreciate you coming in. One of the greatest to ever do it at Penn State, and I'm excited to continue to see what you do with all this type of stuff, man. You're doing some great things, and obviously, once again, product of the grand experiment, continuing your education and all that good stuff. So congrats with all that, and good luck in the future, man. So thank you so much for coming in.
Appreciate that.